Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm kalikaiz and today we're talking about the Magic Online trophies in the Magic Online leagues. So this is all the trophies that actually happened, so all the 5-0s, and then the metagame of that. So considering that, that's basically your winner's metagame. Before we get into it, remember if you want to check out sideboard guides for Familiars, Poison Storm, Altertron, that's all on Patreon, which is patreon.com/kalikaiz. And make sure to like and subscribe if you like these kinds of videos or the other gameplay videos, of course, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Make sure to check out cardmarket.com, the sponsor of the video, which has the largest amount of Magic the Gathering cards in Europe for the online retailers, and you can get your battle boxes there. So the story of the week is, once again, mono red. 36 trophies. The second most... Oh, I'm sorry, let's go back to this one. Wrong, that was last week. This week it's only 31 trophies, but still the top deck. So basically you're going to be wanting to pack your breath weapons if you want to actually fight this deck. And the surprise second winner here with 9 trophies was Mono White Heroic. So Mono White Heroic with Laguna Band and other creatures. This deck looks to play heroic creatures like Laguna Band Trailblazer and then ends up just pumping them with all of these enchantments. It's kind of like mono white Bogles. Very interesting that it's popping off, but maybe it was just a good week. We had G Montiero on day 1 with double trophies, so that does put it up. And we have Walls and Affinity, Colgates, Mono Blue Terra, and Bogles all at 8 trophies for the week, and then falling off from there. So that's like your high level, and we can go ahead and get into the days. On day 1, we had mono red with 6 trophies, way ahead. And then we have 3 mono white heroics, with actually one of them splashing red for Boros heroic. We see 2 Gruul Ponza, 2 Colgate, and then 1 ofs for Affinity, Dredge, Fams, Izzet Terror, Boros Synth, Madness Burn, Black Burn, Orzhov Blade, and Dimir Terror. So this Dimir Terror by Cam 13 seems relatively stock, but look, what they're doing is they're trimming on Gurmag Anglers for 5 Teleri Terrors with the Cryptic Serpents, and then 1 Murmuring Mystic in the main deck. This is like your regular mono white heroic build, like I was talking about. We see a Black Burn, not actually using the flying creature that drains your opponent, so that's an interesting choice going off of that. This is the Boros Heroic by Solerme, who's actually splashing with Lotus Petal and Abraded Bluffs for specifically 3 Flaring Pains in the sideboard, with an additional Abraded Bluffs to bring in. Kind of makes sense given that Colgate has been pretty high in the metagame lately. And this is a white-black flicker deck / like white-black Blade from Totem Silence. This deck is actually pretty sweet because it's got the core Skyfisher, pick up your Tithing Blade, replay it scenario, 8 Novice Inspectors, and then it's playing this card that I haven't seen before called Scroll Shift, which says exile up to one target artifact, creature, or enchantment you control and return it to the battlefield and then draw a card. So you can actually scroll shift all your creatures, all your artifacts, and all your enchantments. So you can scroll shift your Hopeless Nightmare to make them discard and drain. And I feel like Hopeless Nightmare in this list is going to be turning into specifically the familiar, the flying rat creature from MH3. So this could potentially be a list to look out for in the future. On day 2, we have mono red still top of the day with 5 trophies. And then we see mono blue terror in second with 3 Colgates for 2 trophies, Familiars for 2 trophies, which is cool, for me anyway. We see a mono white heroic, a Walls, a Cascade Walls specifically, an Affinity, Bogles, Jeskai FM, Dredge, White Weenie, and another Orzhov Blade deck that's slightly different. So this is a Walls hybrid where it has the Cascade in the main deck and combo in the sideboard to swap into. White Weenie by GA Waves is, always good to see. White Weenie getting in there. They've got the 4 Dust to Dust, as well as 4 Prismatic Strands that handles a lot of the metagame. This is the White-Black Blade by Proscrito, who's playing 4 Glinhawk, 4 Skyfisher, and then just cast down no Deadly Dispute or anything, 8 Inspectors, the 4 Tithing Blade. Very, very clean here in the main deck. No Dust, which is kind of weird to see. Or Duress for now, Spellbomb. All right, so day 3. Mono red, not the very top of the meta here. We have 4 trophies from mono red, 4 from Terror, 4 from Gardens, so they're all tied. And we saw 2 ofs for Heroic, Affinity, Ogles, and Dimir Control, which was spicy. And then 1 ofs for Jeskai FM, Dredge, and Boros Synth. I did not. Oh, I must have missed the Flickertron. I'm on a weird day. Okay, I skipped ahead to day 4. My bad. But we'll go back in time. So this is the blue-black control deck from Bombage, who decided that they wanted to play basically a Teachings deck. So Mystical Teachings can fetch an instant. Almost all the spells are instant. And then you can do a lot of damage on your opponent, especially psychic damage. And then you loop Devious Cover-Up, which says counter target spell. If it gets countered, exile it, and then shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. So you can Devious Cover-Up a spell, bring back in your other Devious Cover-Up, Teachings for Devious Cover-Up, and counterspell, so you just grind them into the dirt. Then we had another player pick this exact 75 up and trophied later in the day. Here is a cool Affinity deck. This is also prepping for the new familiar creature. This is Mardu Affinity, and they are playing Tithing Blade here. But with this specific deck, they could replace the Frogmite with that creature and then give your opponent a lot of discards, which is scary that that's coming up. We have a regular Bogles from Pedro Stone, who used to be known as Reptilium. Bogles Extraordinaire. And then this is pretty much a standard. This is Mono White Heroic, but the interesting thing here is that they're playing 4 Vault Scourge as a way to get life gain. And this is a newer card, Slumbering Keepguard, which you can pump. So let's go back to day 3. I messed up there. So here we had 4 mono red, 4 walls, which was 2 Cascade, 1 combo, 1 hybrid walls, 2 mono white heroic, 1 affinity, 1 Bogles, 1 Gardens, 2 Fae, 1 each of blue-black and blue-red, a Ponza, an Ephemerate, Familiars, Elves, Mono Blue Fae, and a Flickertron. So Bombage has actually been playing Flickertron apparently over some sort of satellite internet connection while sailing around the world. So that's pretty impressive. It kind of shows that it doesn't come down to clicks, it comes down to knowing the deck. So congrats to them. And then we have a bunch of Mono White Heroics, the Flicker. Nothing else that I wanted to pull out specifically from this day. So let's go to day 5. This is the 8th. I'll zoom on over. Mono Red on top again at 5. Bogles and White Weenie each at 2. And then 1 ofs for Heroic, Walls, Cawgate, Dimir Fae, Hanza, Is It Terror, and Boros Synth. I also did not pick out anything spicy from this deck, from this day. Let's see what's going on with the Boros Synthesizer. It looks like a pretty stock Boros Synth. They're playing 8 Inspector, 8 of the Hawk Skyfishers, and then 2 Relics in the main deck. That's pretty standard for a Boros player because they can't really deal with loops very well. And then on day 6, it's a lot flatter with 2 Mono Red, 2 Walls, 2 Cawgate, and then 1 ofs for Affinity, Bogles, Gardens, Anza, Bandis Burn, Black Burn, Mogwarts, and Mono Red Tron, which is pretty cool. Here's another Blackburn. Once again, not playing the Drain creature. And we have Mono Red Cascade Tron by Noob. So they actually did, I think they came in, not maybe this person, but this list came in 9th in a challenge. And it's just looking to go like super hard on cascading. So they've got 4 Maelstrom Colossus, 4 Boarding Party. And they're going to the full 12 lands for the Urza's lands. And then they have Bitter Reunion here, which is a good way of filtering in this kind of deck. And they also have Campfire to continuously loop their deck or just gain a bunch of life along with Candy Trail. So in general, it's very strong. I've died to this. It's pretty brutal, especially when you just cascade a bunch of creatures and then make them all hasty with Bitter Reunion. That's something that I'm interested in checking out. We'll see if it can have legs in the new metagame. On the last day, we have Mono Red way on top with 5. The second most played deck was Blue X Fae at 3, and then we have Affinity at 2. And just one of's going down the line of Kagates, Mono Blue Terror, Bogles, Golgari Gardens, Ponza, Jeskai Ephemerate, Dredge, Dimir Control, which was not the teachings list, and Izzet Terror, and Elves, and a Turbo Fog. But we're looking at Grixis Affinity. Today on Magic Online, Modern Horizons 3 will come out, so this will look a lot different. We have 4 Frogmite here, which is going to be refurbished familiar. Kenku Artificer may be switched with the Sneaky Snacker, we'll see. But this is kind of the template that people are looking into. I still think that just 1 Rebuke and 1 Negate as your only answers to Dust to Dust is pretty sketchy, but maybe that's just because there's not a lot of white in the metagame for these people. This is a Dredge that did well. I don't see anything too crazy. They're on only 2 Knot of the Bone, 2 Acorn Harvest, so they did not really respect Mono Red in the main deck, but they have 2 Knot of the Bone in the sideboard, with 3 Bojuka Bog and 3 Rotten Reunion for a lot of graveyard hate. And Ritual Sinkhole here. They had 5-0'd earlier in the week on Jeskai Ephemerate, but it's good to see them back on their Turbo Fogging. This player seems to be one of the top Turbo Fog pilots in the entirety of Magic Online, so if you do want to pick up a Turbo Fog deck, check out this player. One of the interesting thing is with Keep, Keep Watch is cool for Mono Red, draw a card for each attacking creature. They were playing a spell that makes each person draw a card, but it seems like that's not the case. They're playing Fog of War, gain the life for each creature on the battlefield, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures with power 3 or less. Wow, they're very all in on handling Mono Red. Interesting. I really like that. And we also see the Ramirez Di Pietro, which is pretty funny. Awesome to close on the the meme here, putting a legendary into your deck. And they're actually only playing a 14-card sideboard. Wow. 14-card sideboard, playing a meme. They're really playing a 13-card sideboard here. You gotta love it. So over here, this was the challenge metagame for the past weekend. Mono Red, not as high as in the leagues, but still on top. Kagates following that, then Dimir, Fae, and Affinity, with only really Affinity of the top played decks doing very well. Then your best deck was Jeskai Ephemerate with 2 pilots with the 12-3 total record. That's absurd. Congrats to them. Familiar's doing fine. I didn't see any Poison Storm here, which I was a little bit sad about, but it doesn't line up very well against lots of land destruction out here. Hopefully that doesn't continue to be the case. And then if you want to check out, let's see. Okay. So I was wanting to put up my chart, but it looks like I messed up and don't have the chart there, so that's okay. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Let me know what you thought about it, what you think is going to be spicy coming up in Modern Horizons 3. And we will see you in the next one.